Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Millennium Voices. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Ma'am Verda Yousuf. She has been an employee, an amazing employee of TMUC for a large number of years. She has been she's part of the leadership here at TMUC, and she's really seen the growth of TMUC from the ground up. Welcome, Ma'am Verda. And
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, ma'am. Thank you so much for coming. Ma'am, I think straight off the bat, the first question I have for you, can you tell us about TMUC, or what is TMUC like for an employer? From being an employee, what is your vision or what is your insight to TMUC?
All right, so Ramsha, if I begin, I started my journey with the Millennium Education back in 2014. So we are calling it the 11th year for me. And Alhamdulillah, it has been an immensely rewarding experience. If you ask me, TMUC for me as an employer has been the significant part of my life. At the same time, the most rewarding, like I said. Because, if I could just cut it short and bring you to the real picture. So TMUC allows you a lot of empowerment, at the same time, a lot of job rotation.
Okay.
So what I've seen in my tenure with the Millennium Education is a lot of empowerment, a lot of job rotation. That is also if you have done your part wherever role you had to justify. So when you have the skill, the right skill set, I think they look at the attitude first. They hire for attitude, they look at the qualification, those are just prereqs. However, when they look at you and you actually perform, they sort of put you in the right place very soon.
Okay.
And should you require a transition when you feel that you have justified the role you were or the projects you have done, then they really reward you eventually. So I am proud to be a millennial
Part of
myself
TMUC,
as a
yes.
tag, and I always say it, TMUC itself has redefined millennialism. It's not just a certain cohort of people born in a certain era or
Yeah.
certain number of years. I now call it as a redefinition by the Millennium Education. Millennials, like the Millennium Voices right here today, is all about change. It's about embracing what's new, and it's also allowing a lot of empowerment, right? So this is my journey, and this is how I took my transition from schools to the university side. And that's when I also headed a campus for almost 3 years and a half, yeah. And from that we've done different segments of jobs, at the same time a lot of projects that we have headed. So it's been a wonderful experience working with the team. And one powerful and impactful thing that we have here to offer is that the team that works here is around the clock, on their feet, but
Yes.
dedicated.
That's actually very true.
And they
yes,
feel happy
certainly.
to come to work. That's the best
very
part
true.
of the day.
Yes. I think when we talk about being happy to come to work, I think it's basically the sort of environment you come up with, right?
Yeah.
You build for that institution itself. So if it's going to be a very stressful, it's going to be very, dry and dull, it's certainly not the case.
Yeah.
But if it's a place, like you said, it's very empowering. It brings diversity to the table. And I know this is something Sir Faisal is very proud when he says this, that, I'm leading one of the very few organizations that has more women in it than men.
Me too.
And he's very gender focused when it comes to that.
Yeah.
But ma'am, because like you said, it's been a journey of more than 10 years. There's certainly a certain amount of challenges that you come across as well, especially when you're looking at different roles that you had to take on during that time. So what would you say has been your biggest challenge, and what exactly have you gotten out of it?
All right, Ramsha, so before we get there, I'd also appreciate if we discuss something, because you mentioned a very fine point here. So there's a lot of eye to detail with what we do at TMUC.
Yes.
Okay. So you'll find that there is a certain architecture to everything. Every campus has a certain, parameters on which we work. The dynamics are absolutely similar, with its own individualistic, beauty to it. Starting from the aesthetics, to the lighting, to the branding, you will find TMUC reflecting a perfect aura, and that sort of replicates in every campus. So
It does,
if you
yes.
go blindfolded anywhere and just take it off in one of our campuses, you can easily say it's a TMUC campus. So that's something that makes us stand out.
There's a persona to it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Moving on from there, I think that particular thing has been sort of associated with our CEO, I'll be very honest. So his vision has sort of translated in all that we do. So the best part is that whatever we feel like doing, And let's say he's always open to suggestions. So the hierarchy then leads on to the decisions as well, and very prudently they sort of approve what you want to do. So when it comes to challenges, they're always brought to the table. And if you ask me, I've been a part of communications, I've been a part of training, I've been a part of student affairs, I've been a part of admissions. So the most challenging part is always around your stakeholders, which is majorly your parents, your students, your faculty, and of course the other people associated with it. When I look at the biggest challenge that I've ever had in these 10 years, I can easily go back to my times in launching a new campus in one of the cities that we did. It was a pioneering campus in that particular zone. We did not have our feeding branch as a school from there. So that was of a challenge that we had to take over. I had to shift with my family, but I think it was all worth it by the end of the day. I moved my children for it. They also are millennials, proud millennials, I always see. I won't name the institute they were with for the past 3 years, but trust me, my boys have come back home. That's what they feel now that I'm back in one of our own campuses. Because that's how Millennium education is like.
I think there's a culture that just stems.
It
Wherever you
is.
are, there's a
So-
culture that stems.
And mashallah, my boys have been performing well. They've been high achievers. But
Oh,
the
wow.
entire credit goes to Millennium education.
Certainly.
I cannot associate it anywhere else. Coming from a very healthy educational background myself, and my family's very academic orientation is very strong. So we are very much worried about scholarships, and this is how we will be securing this and that. I was always concerned where to put my boys also. So the ultimate picture or the ultimate result or a catalyst, let's just call it the ultimate litmus test to getting things right and to actually deciding whether you would go for TMUC or not is if you would want your children to go there.
Go to TMC
So
or not,
I am all for it because I've seen the difference actually experiencing myself, because I put my children in another school and then we came back to Millennium education and you can't see the smiles of my children anymore. They're happy to be back. Like I said, we have come back home. So yes, the challenges are there. Coming back to the challenges one apart. So we entered a new city and we were novel. We made a big impact, but then again, our proposition was to start off with a concert, for example, to engage students, to let people know we're here. So we threw one of the finest events in the year, and then we kept on progressing with the same, journey altogether for next 3 years.
Yes,
So we
that's
made
right.
our mark, and we have been progressing from there onward. And I'm so proud to be associated with one of the systems which is the largest in transnational. I mean, we're the ones who opened up HEC to the policy.
yeah.
So there's a lot that's associated with it, and
Yes.
and like I said, we do a lot of policy making in the to start as a blueprint, and then we want to then make sure that template is followed over to other campuses, and then we
Campuses,
replicate
yes.
it for others.
And I think that's worked really well for TMUC.
It has, and
just
now
to have a beacon in place,
Yep.
and then to be able to sort of like replicate that model elsewhere. It's something that's really worked. We've just opened our latest campus in Peshawar, so
We have,
it
mashallah.
certainly that's proved very very helpful for us.
Absolutely.
And I think there's a certain vision behind it. It can't be a simple copy and paste method. There's much more to it. I think it's about getting the right team on the table for a specific location.
True.
And it's just about making sure that everybody sits down, gets their part of the job done, and there's critical feedback if there is any. Are you reflecting on it?
True.
What's the feedback on top of that previous feedback? So I think that's something we really focus on as a team.
And we have wonderful alumni such as yourself
Yes, thank
who
you,
have
ma'am.
joined us. And I mean, coming back home again, like for you
Yes,
as well.
yes. For me, it's
a
basically
big
coming back. I've
reflection
been here
on-
for 4 years now. Yes.
Absolutely, and that's a big testament to how well we're doing. Our
Yes.
people want to actually come back and give back
Yes,
to us as well.
yes.
So that's wonderful in its own self. Yeah.
And so, ma'am, now that we're talking about alumni, you're currently working for the industrial outreach as well as linkages, and of course with alumni as well. So this is something that we TMUC. I know for a fact that Faisal Mushtaq is like, this is something that needs a fresh sort of like a washover. So you're looking at this part of TMUC's life in a completely new light, and you want to bring new attention to it, new focus to it. What exactly are your plans when we talk about industrial linkages?
Right. So Ramsha, if I could put it in two lines, I think the vision of just ensuring that everything revolves around the student is something that has come from Madam Rifat Mushtaq. And from there, the children have taken it forward and beautifully actually transcended into TMUC as well. So everything for us is always focused around the child, right? So when the child is going to be ours, when they are a part of us, and then when they, of course, graduate as well.
Yes.
So we want to ensure that our relationship with them is always there. And Alhamdulillah, we've been lucky enough to see how they have been our ambassadors all through and through. So now our next step, now that we are completing a decade with TMUC, mashallah, we'll be celebrating our first homecoming very soon.
Yes.
And for that, our plan is to ensure that we have an instilled directory for the graduates. So we have our very much alumni groups in place where we are connected with them.
Yes.
Moving on from there, we're also ensuring that every time we have a career fair, we invite our alumni.
Yes.
And it is such a proud moment. Our alumni actually put up their own company, kiosks now.
Yeah.
So the transition from being a beginner to now looking at students who have graduated and have
entered the
come
industry,
back,
yes.
actually started looking at us as employers also. So that's another level of understanding of the student themselves, that yes, we graduated with a certain cohort which was eligible enough to enter the market. So to begin with, we have been engaging with them from every campus. I mean, student affair officers and student engagement is at the core of what we do.
It is.
Because
yes.
it has to be curricular, it has to be co-curricular, at the same time it has to be curricular.
Yes.
So academics, quality-wise, we are proud to say how we have a wonderful quality assurance department, and it is one of the finest that's working in the country.
Certainly, yes.
Additional to that, we have to now sort of, replenish what we want to do in student portfolio building. And for that, our clubs and societies are
They're doing
at the
really
heart of
well,
it.
yes.
And they do wonderfully every year. You'll be amazed to see how these children have become so giving, because they've learned empathy. We've had Empathy Foundation, established. Then we had these drives every now and then.
Yes, we do, yes.
So the child is not just learning academics. They're also learning how to be surviving in the city or as a community member.
As a Pakistani, basically.
Absolutely.
As a
So,
Pakistani.
that has to be instilled inside the child. And it's not that they're adults. They're still young adults. I mean, we have yet
a
to
lot
let
of
them...
room for growth still.
Absolutely.
Yes,
We've
yes.
yet to groom them to become the right fit for the market, for the industry, for the
Yes.
community. So we're not just looking at... I remember President Saab has very rightly mentioned how SDGs is at our
yes.
heart as well.
Yes.
So when you're looking at the core, value system is very strong.
Yes.
So when the values and principles are in place, then you revolve the entire projects around that. So alumni engagement is one of those.
One of those things, yes. And I think we are rightly said so to point out that, sustainable development goals is something that is at the heart of what TMUC is. Whether it's inside the classroom, whether it's outside, growth as an organization that benefits not just Pakistan, but an ecosystem of education itself.
Absolutely.
Internationally is very important to, I think, everybody that's here.
Absolutely. We're not
It's
just
something-
giving transnational education as just international standards of education.
Yes.
We're talking about educating them to be international citizens
Yes.
also. And for that, SDGs have to be inculcated.
And ma'am,
anyway.
even when we talk about education itself, education, there's a broad spectrum of understanding. When we say what education is, one is being very book smart. I've done my bachelor's of science in this. I've done my master's in this. I've done my PhD in this. Then there's also a very strong social understanding that needs to be there.
Absolutely.
That needs to be present in every single one of us for us to be responsible human beings. When we were talking about previously, the president was talking about climate change and the effect that
Yes.
our actions have on environments, whether it's as a Pakistani, it's affecting Pakistan itself, or just this part of the world, or the whole world itself. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with it. But unfortunately, I think I've seen it in other institutions. I've seen it in schools. This is something that needs to be indrilled within a child, within a student as a young child. And this becomes
Very
a
right.
culture that you grow with.
Yes.
Don't waste water, for example.
Agreed.
Don't litter. I think Pakistan में अगर ये हर चीज़ बंदा सीख जाए कि जी हमने litter नहीं करना, half of Pakistan will clean itself up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what do you think is, how is it that we sort of make sure to get these goals, get these sort of social understanding, this social empathy within our students?
So like I said earlier as well, the principles and the value system, that has to be very much in place, right? So when you are introducing that as a part of your club and society area, you know, so the children are constantly busy in activities which are revolving around these principles. So
Certainly.
for example, so we have a social action club.
Yes, we do.
Now that helps in this area where students are always involved in arranging drives. There could be blood donation, it could be clothing donation, it could be just
Certainly.
anything for that matter. We see people just doing it round in Ramadan only.
Yes.
However, our students are constantly
They're
busy
constantly
in making
doing
sure.
it, yes.
So when you allocate this job to part of your society, especially these children, you'll be amazed how they contribute. And on top of it, then you have other clubs and societies. For example, you might have a mooting court society. So I've had these interesting instances where even I have stood as a head in that witness box and
Yes.
questioned about things. And I
Yes.
hired my own lawyer from my own department. So it felt very nice when students also felt they could come up to the level where they could actually come and challenge. So what are you really instilling in them? That they have rights.
That they have rights.
They can
yes.
question, they can rationalize, and come at a peaceful response or solution or resolution to it. So there's so much that happens alongside. I mean, apart from that, we have Global Entrepreneurship Week. We
Yes,
are
we
encouraging how entrepreneurial ventures should be supported. We're not just, so we've actually placed ourselves in the society or in the market as an institution for the industry. Now that's a vision coming from my CEO. When we claim we are the institution for the industry, we are talking about making them industry ready.
Yes.
Right. And when that happens, a lot is already learned. And how are they doing it? Through these clubs and societies on the way. So they're already into making projects, and we are not just training them to be job hunters
Hunters,
and
yeah.
acquiring jobs only. We're making sure that they are learning to be employers.
Employees
So that
themselves,
instead of
yes.
their job alone, they're looking at 100 people they can support.
Yes.
And actually employ. So wonderful things are happening, Ramsha. I think through this portfolio, apart from that, so many guest speakers come under
Come in,
TMUC
yes.
Talks. We have TMUC Accelerate, where a lot of these brands are actually representation of what we do for the students, right? So all the curricular visits to the
Yes.
industry, people coming in for workshops, that's a part of the deal. Then we have alumni also giving back.
Yes.
Interestingly, they come back, they actually participate and speak. Because I remember the best lessons I've ever learned were not from the mundane classroom teachings. Sometimes they were just from the guest speaker that
Guest
came
speakers,
inside.
yes.
So that flavor is always given to the student, so that everybody understands, okay, how the world is really working.
I
Because they
think
come
more than
fresh from the market.
saying just like new flavor, it's basically a new lens of looking at things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think when you're a student, specifically in a university, and that too for a transnational education, I think you're open to a lot of different things. You're open to be able to perceive different types of knowledge and to be able to digest them for yourself. Especially in a place like TMUC, I think you're given that exposure, that confidence. This is something I really wanted to mention while you were talking about, that we've come across so many students taking parts in different type of activities. I think the point that we have to emphasize here that yes, there's of course an existence of these clubs that allows that participation. But I think something I'd like to add as a TMUC alumni myself would be it's actually the confidence. It's actually the right
Yes.
to say that yes, as a Pakistani, as a member of TMUC, the environment itself, the organization itself, I need to be confident enough, and I am confident enough that I hold the skills, I hold the toolbox to be able to deliver this.
Very right. Very, very
I think it's
good
very
point.
important to say this.
I agree with you, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much, ma'am. It was absolutely lovely having you with us, and I hope you do visit us very soon. I know we're a long way from Lahore, but still, we would love to have you again if possible.
Same here, Ramsha. I'm glad we were able to add some value today, and some points were discussed, some perspective was given. I
Yes.
hope people get to understand, know us better, at the same time, learn from what we're trying to do here
Certainly,
for the
yes.
community at large. Thank you so much for
Certainly.
having me.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for coming over.